I'd like to call this meeting to order today. Mrs. Polk has invocation.
God grant the county board the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking as he did this sinful world as it is, not as we would have it. Trust not that he will make all things right if we surrender to his will, that we may be responsibly and reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, the roll call, please.
Tripp? Here.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Washington?
President.
Mr. LaJess? Present. Mr. Stauffenberg?
Present.
Mr. Whitten?
Present.
Mrs. Bernard?
Present.
Mr. Marcotte?
Present.
Mr. James? Present. Mr. McLaren? Mr. Vickery?
Present.
Mrs. Barber? Mrs. Schmidt? Mr. Nicholas? Mr. Olthoff?
Present.
Mr. Lear?
Present.
Mr. Scholl?
Present.
Mr. Hess?
Present.
Mrs. Campbell?
Present.
Mr. Kalecki? Mrs. McBride? Mr. Yates?
Present.
Mr. Inns?
Present.
Mr. Whitus?
Present.
Mr. Tholen?
Present.
Mrs. Polk?
Present.
Mr. Arsenault? Mr. McConnell? Mr. Foster?
Present. We have a quorum. I have one request to address the board under public comment. Mr. Snipes?
Good morning to the chairman and the other members of the board. Just a few issues I want to discuss. The one is first is KCSI. As you know, I was appointed to KCSI board by this board, and since then you've seen that they've done some great things. We did over 20 homes out in Pembroke, getting them remodeled and getting individuals into those homes. We provided the light heat, which is the gas, and the electric reimbursement to help low to the poor and dispossessed. When the money's got low, the state and Washington found more or whatever to kind of accommodate that particular request, so everything is going well there. So just want to give you an update as far as that was concerned. Also want to congratulate you on sticking with your guns in regards to the landfill. I think the Supreme Court ruling was a great indicator and a wake-up call to the appellate court to kind of get this thing back in the right path. So I congratulate you for sticking to your guns there. There's a thing with the county housing authorities that I would like you to invoke, or just not so much invoke, but kind of put the bug in their ear. I think I talked about it some time ago when I was on the county board, and then also when I addressed this board before, and that is the no drug policy in the county housing authority or in any Section 8 housing facility or whatever. So I walked into one facility and it was just like you could smell the aroma of marijuana when you walked in the building. The Supreme Court, not the Illinois, but the United States Supreme Court had a ruling that came out in 2000, I believe, in 5, where they upheld a challenge where someone stated that it wasn't them smoking, but their friends were smoking in the building, and because they had allowed their friends to smoke, the it went up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court held that you're responsible for anyone that's in that house. And even though the kids, they was trying to push the kids out there, he said you should have thought about that when that happened. So we do have that on the books or whatever, and that way we can kind of clean up internally some of the things that we just enforce the laws that's on the books, so that no drug policy is enforced and you can lose your Section 8 if that's the case or whatever. And I think if they can do that and they stick by their guns on that, we can clean it up and also get individuals in there that will be appreciative of having reduced to low income housing as far as that's concerned. And it was one other thing I wanted to get while I was on my soapbox this morning. Oh, and then the store, I've always been a proponent of the 7-member district opposed to the 28-member district, and I know that's going to be coming up soon up on the board. As you know, when I sat on the board, I told them that we could not do it, and as we found out, the Supreme Court has agreed and has sent it back that we cannot change the district without getting the people's approval. So hopefully it will go back to the 7-member district for elected from the 7-member district as far as that's concerned. So hopefully that'll be on the ballot in 2010. With all that being said, thank you for the opportunity and have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Under communications, I have a proclamation for your consideration and adoption. It's attached, Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation. I think would you care to read it, Mr. Clerk?
Whereas child abuse is a national tragedy with an estimated 905,000 annual victims of substantiated abuse or neglect in the United States. Whereas the public cares deeply about child abuse, and a majority reported that child abuse is a very important moral issue to them. And whereas preventing child abuse and neglect is a community problem that depends on involvement among people throughout the community. And whereas child abuse and neglect not only directly harm children, but also increases the likelihood of long-term physical and mental health problems, alcohol and substance abuse, continued family violence, and criminal behavior. And whereas child maltreatment occurs when people find themselves in stressful situations without community resources and don't know how to cope, and whereas the majority of child abuse cases stem from situations and conditions that are preventable and engaged in supportive community, and whereas child abuse and neglect can be reduced by making sure each family has the support they need in raising their children in a safe, nurturing environment, whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Now therefore, Michael Bowser, by virtue of the authority vested as County Board Chairman of Kankakee County, Illinois, hereby proclaims April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Call upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, and businesses to increase their participation in the efforts to support families, therefore preventing child abuse and strengthening the communities in which we live.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Do I have a motion to adopt this proclamation? Mr. Scholl with a motion, Mr. Whitten with a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. I recently had a visit in my office with a group from the healthcare industry. MCHC is a trade organization that promotes and informs the public as to the importance of the healthcare industry to our local communities. And they make the case that healthcare is a major component of our industry in our community. Last week I heard a presentation, or several of us at the Alliance meeting heard a presentation by Mr. Kambick on the proposed Riverside expansion. So, Mr. Van Mill, I thought I'd let you make that introduction and turn it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Phil Kambick, President and CEO of Riverside, to make a presentation on Riverside's efforts going forward with a major expansion that maybe many of you have heard of. But Phil has a lot of good information and update on the process that's going on. As Chairman Bossert indicated, our economy is going to be dependent on the healthcare system. It is going to be the one sector that's going to see major job growth, and in fact, this project will put many people to work during the construction, and as you will see, many professionals to work after the development is complete. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Phil Kambick.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Chairman Bossert. This is a presentation I put together for the EDA about a week ago, so it's still pretty fresh, and I will apologize in advance for a few of you who have already seen it. One of the things I always like to start a presentation out is with the mission statement for Riverside. And I'm going to read it to you just very briefly. Our mission statement really drives what we do as an organization, and let me read it to you. Life is a remarkable journey. Health impacts every step. How we connect with others, how we express our potential, how we pursue our dreams. At Riverside, our mission is to provide healthcare experiences that are just as remarkable. We do this for each and every person, regardless of their personal or economic circumstances. We offer our highest thinking, our kindest touch, and our strongest commitment to excellence. As we go forward at Riverside with our plans, this is first and foremost in our minds. Secondly, what I wanted to share with this group is our vision moving forward. And the vision is to be the safest and highest quality provider of care in the state of Illinois. We're well on our way to being there, and I'll share some information with you in a moment. But you hear about in the news daily about patient safety, about quality of care. At Riverside, we invest significantly in trying to continuously improve the safety that we're able to provide to our patients, safe care, and high quality care. I thought I'd throw this slide in here. It's titled March Madness. You know, we're just off of the NCAA tournament and the whole March Madness with the tournament and winning. Riverside was recognized on a national level in March as well, and you'll be hearing more about these awards. But we were named a Thompson 100 Top Hospital again in 2009. We received it last year for the first time. There are about 5,000 hospitals in the country, 5,200 and some. Riverside is ranked by Thompson, and Thompson is a national company, Thomson Reuters, that takes all of this data from the Medicare database. They take a look at the patient safety, at quality of care, at patient satisfaction, at financial performance, all of these indicators, and then they compare hospitals to each other. For the second year in a row, Riverside was named a top 100 hospital. Only 7 hospitals in the state of Illinois received this recognition. Most of those are up in Chicago, several academic centers that you're probably familiar with, Northwestern, Evanston Hospital, some very, very good hospitals. So we're in a very, very good company with this Thompson Top 100 award. Also, and you might have seen the ads recently, there's a company out there called Health Greats that does the same sort of things, rates hospitals. They're a national company, and Riverside received the Health Greats Patient Safety Excellence Award just recently in March as well for the 4th year in a row. So again, we're doing a lot of things very, very good at Riverside and really focusing on our mission and our vision. And then lastly, in March, we were notified we were accredited as a chest pain center. Just a very brief story. About 2 weeks ago, we had a ambulance call, a 43-year-old male having a heart attack. Ambulance got there on the scene, hooked him up to EKG. It was all transmitted wirelessly to our ER. The ER doctors were able to evaluate what was going on with that patient. Patient hits the door to the ER, immediately sent down to our cath lab. They did a stent, did a procedure, a cath procedure, opened up this gentleman's vessel, prevented the heart attack, prevented any heart damage, and the patient was able to leave in 2 days. 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, that patient would have died. 43-year-old male. So pretty significant the things that we're able to do in this community with some of the technology and some of the facilities that we have. This probably doesn't reflect well back there, but what I wanted to show in this graphic, you see Interstate 57 kind of winding up this map. Everywhere where you see a dot of some sort, Riverside has a physical facility at that location. We actually have physical facilities in 4 counties now. The majority of them in Kankakee County. We have a number of facilities in Will County, a couple down in Iroquois County, and most recently we have a facility opened up in Grundy County at our West Campus in Coal City. So we continue to grow and expand, and part of this strategy is in that northern tier of Will County, Grundy County, to serve people in those communities on an outpatient basis. Those are all outpatient facilities. And then as they need more tertiary services like open heart surgery, services like back surgery, craniotomy surgeries, then we send those patients down to Riverside for that inpatient care. So again, meeting the needs of people in those communities on an outpatient level and bringing them down to Kankakee versus sending them up to Chicago or somewhere else. I like this quote. This quote came from Bill Gates, so I thought I'd put it in this presentation. We always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10 years. Don't let yourself be lulled into inaction. At Riverside, we do 10-year planning. When you're looking at building major facilities, when you're looking at major locations, you have to look that far out. This project I'm gonna get into here started over 3 years ago when I first became CEO. Just the planning phases of it, going through the regulatory phases of it, going through the construction phases of it. This will be a 7-year project before it's all complete and open to the public. So we have long time horizons in healthcare because we have very, very heavy capital needs for many of these facilities. As we do our planning and we take a look into the future, from a healthcare standpoint and meeting the needs of this community and the communities that we serve, we had several capacity demands that are approaching us. We have a need for larger OR spaces. We do probably between 8,000 and 9,000 surgeries a year at Riverside. That's a lot of surgeries going on. We average 40 to 50 a day at the hospital between the outpatient surgeries and the big inpatient surgeries. Today's environment, an OR is not a sterile room with one big light and white walls around it. When you go into a modern OR, it's more like a major computer center or data room. You have computers all around you. You have monitors everywhere, you have pieces of equipment on the floor, etc. We need larger spaces. Our facilities were built back in the 60s and 70s, and they were built very, very well at that time. They meet our needs, but as we continue to do some of these high-end surgeries like open heart surgery, neurosurgery, big orthopedic cases, we need larger spaces for all of this equipment. The need for critical care beds. People are living longer and patients are getting sicker. We've done a marvelous job in medicine of prolonging life, but patients are sicker when they come to the hospital. We have a need for more critical care beds. The need for private rooms. Everybody wants privacy. When you're sick in a hospital, you don't want to have to share a room. When we built our facility back in the 60s, everything was set up as semi-private room or even wards with 4 or more patients in them. People want a private room. We've been slowly converting many of our inpatient rooms to private rooms, but we're out of capacity. We need to build additional capacity, and what we build will all be private rooms. From a quality of care standpoint, there are studies out there that show patients heal better in a private room. They have better sleep patterns. There is less chance of infection from getting an infection from the patient in the room with you. There's all sorts of clinical evidence that a private room not only improves patient satisfaction, but improves clinical outcomes. Need for additional ED beds. Our emergency rooms are busier and busier. We have 3 years ago, we were seeing about 25,000 patients in our ER. Last year, we saw 40,000 patients. So just phenomenal growth in our ER business, and we need additional capacity to handle, additional rooms to handle that additional patient volume. And then the need for radiology expansion. Everything is changing. Technology is improving. Today, you can go into Riverside, you can have a CAT scan of your heart. They can call it up there. It's almost like science fiction. They can have it on the screen. They can rotate it 360 degrees. They can turn it any way. They can see if you have plaque buildup, if you have any defects. That's all done with radiology versus going in and from a surgery. So that technology is only improving. We have something called a 64-slice CT scanner. That means it revolves 64 times in a second. You get a lot of pictures in that 64 seconds. State of the art, we put it in 3 years ago. One of the best in the state, one of the first in the state to have it. Today, that machine is probably 3 generations old. They have 64 and 64, 128 machines. They have 256 machines. So they just keep getting faster and better so they can do better diagnostics. So we will see that grow at Riverside as well. As we take a look at what's happening out in our environment as well, and what is prompting this project, we have a 3-year trend increase in major services. Neurosurgery. We have 2 full-time neurosurgeons. We're recruiting a 3rd now. We are seeing just almost 600 to 700 neurosurgeries done in this community a year now, where before all of those patients had to leave and go up to Chicago or one of the northern hospitals. We're doing them here. I was telling the group, I haven't heard about this past weekend, but the weekend before, we had 5 neurosurgery patients transferred in from other hospitals because there's a lack of neurosurgery in hospitals all across the state. So we had several transfers from Silver Cross, one from St. James, one from Morris, one from Iroquois Memorial. That was over the span of just one weekend. We had 5 patients transferred in for emergency care because we have the neurosurgeons. Some of these others we've talked about. Our cardiac program, again, we do open heart surgery in this community. We have fantastic results. Last year we were rated the #1 hospital in the state of Illinois from an outcome standpoint for open heart surgery. Pretty impressive for a community hospital our size. This year we slipped down to #2, but I think I'll still take #2, not too shabby. I talked a little bit when we looked at the map, but we have strategies in place at Riverside to continue that growth to our northern area. Our Bourbonnais campus is an outpatient campus. We see a lot of we do a lot of diagnostics out there. We have physician offices out there. We have a cancer center that's a regional cancer center that brings patients in. We see those folks on an outpatient. When they need inpatient services and hospital stays, they come to Riverside. We just opened our West Campus in Coal City right around Thanksgiving. That's starting to pick up volume and starting to grow and starting to attract people from that community. And what we're seeing is that, again, outpatient services done in Coal City, those folks need hospital care. They have a lot of choices. They could go up to the Joliet hospitals, they can go to the Morris Hospital, they could even go south down to St. Mary's or west to St. Mary's and Streeter, or they could come to Riverside. They've had a lot of different options. What we've been trying to do is provide that outpatient care in that community, and then bring them to Kankakee, bring them to Riverside for their inpatient care. And we're starting to see more and more patients from that region utilizing our services. And then we have property in Frankfort. We are looking at, partly because of the economy and things happening up in Will County, we've kind of pushed this back a little bit, but we will be building an outpatient campus in Frankfort. We have property on Route 45. As the economy picks up and we work with the developer, we will develop a facility, outpatient facility in Frankfort. And again, with the thought of servicing those folks at that in the community, but sending them down to Kankakee and Riverside for their inpatient care. So a little bit about the modernization and what is this modernization project going to be. Here is a picture of Riverside's campus right now. Situated, you see the Kankakee River in front. You see the railroad tracks kind of up top. I don't have a pointer. Let me see if I can get up here. Can I ask you to hit the page down for a second? Just hang on a second. So here's the main campus, the main hospital, the river. Here is 113 running this way. Here you see some facilities that should appear orange on the screen. Go ahead, slide. What you see there now is a building. Those are the points of connection. This will be the new addition that we put onto the back of the hospital. It will be a very large facility, almost as much space as the existing patient tower. In that space, this will be, we'll have a basement with some support space. Really the only thing of note in the basement will be sterile processing. When you come in for a OR procedure, an operating room procedure, you have equipment that the doctors use. What will happen is that equipment will be sterilized down in the basement in a very sterile area. There will be dumbwaiters that will send it up to the first floor where the ORs will be situated. As that gets used, on the other end there's a dumbwaiter that will send the dirty equipment down. It'll be processed, cleaned, sent over to this side, moved up. So that'll be kind of the rotation, and that's what we have in the basement. On the first floor, again, what we will have are 12 brand new operating rooms. These operating rooms, the smallest one of these operating rooms are larger than the largest of our operating rooms now. So all very standard. One of the issues that we have right now, and that many hospitals have that have been built years ago, if you need an orthopedic procedure done, a total hip replacement, we only have 3 rooms available in our current structure that can do that procedure because of power needs, because of lighting, because of HVAC. For open heart surgery, we only have 2 rooms where you can have open heart surgery at currently. For an open heart surgery, they're going to drop that room temperature down to about 40 degrees. That takes a massive HVAC to be able to do that. In our current environment, we can't use all of our rooms. In this new plan, these 12 rooms, all of them will have the power, the size, the HVAC to be able to do any procedure in any room from a capacity standpoint. Over to the left side of this diagram, it's a little bit hard to see, we'll have 7 brand new labor and delivery rooms. We birth about 1,300 to 1,400 babies a year. This will provide us some additional capacity where we can increase that number. When you see all of the yellow on this diagram, that is existing hospital. The blue is the new addition. The yellow is the existing hospital. What will happen, all of that space will be renovated on the first floor. That's where the current ORs are. They will be moved to the new location. After the new building is built, the new addition is built, then we will backfill and we will do the renovation on the existing OR space. This is titled third floor. This new building is a modern building. Our old building, built back in the 60s, the floor to ceiling heights are only 10 feet. So it's a 5-story building, floor to ceiling height of 10 feet. That's really not workable in today's environment with all the power needs, with the computer cabling, with the HVAC needs. So this new building will have much higher ceilings, floor to ceiling height. So the first floor will match up to the first floor. The second floor of the new building will actually match up to the third floor of the existing building. And then the third floor of the new building will match up to the 5th floor of the existing building. So we'll have much higher floor to ceiling heights. We can get all of the HVAC and all the infrastructure in place. So on the third floor, which is the second floor of this building, we'll have 18 brand new intensive care rooms. So a brand new ICU for neurosurgery, for surgical patients, there'll be a surgical ICU. And the rest of this floor will be a 24-bed ortho-neuro floor that will be all private rooms as well. So again, as we add these additional beds, these will all be private. What it allows us to do is in the main hospital where we double patients up, we'll be able to make those rooms and eventually convert those rooms to private rooms. So as we go forward, we're not actually increasing capacity significantly. What we're doing is we're decompressing and making everything private rooms for our patients. And then the 5th floor right now will be basically shelled in for education or administrative space, but then potentially could be used for an additional nursing unit, for additional nursing beds as we need them in the future. Here are just a few views, a typical ortho-neuro room. Very nice. What we're trying to do is create more of a healing environment for our patients, make it more comfortable for them. We piloted this in the hospital currently. We've converted probably about 15 rooms over the past couple of years to private rooms. Patients love this. It's very comfortable. We have sleeper sofas in these rooms for patients, family members to spend the night. Plenty of room to get around in, flat screen TVs, wireless internet, all the amenities that a person would want or a family member would want that's with that patient. Similar with the ICU patient room, very large windows allowing a lot of light to come in. As you take a look at going green, we've tried to build some green architectural features into this building, larger windows for more natural light, different things with our HVAC units to capture some of the steam to power some of our other equipment. Again, the picture is kind of washed out here, but the operating rooms are very large. You see the circle kind of around the bed. One of the things that we will be doing is hanging more and more stuff from the ceiling. So all of these computer monitors, etc., will be hanging from the ceiling so they're not on the floor. Right now, our ORs are crowded. You have not only the doctor, but you probably have 3 or 4 nurses in there, maybe a physician assistant helping the doctor, and then all of this equipment on the ground. And it's congested. With this new environment, much larger space and much more of that equipment will be hanging from the ceiling so the doctor can look up and see the monitors, or the nurse or the anesthesiologist can look up and see the monitors versus them being cart-based on the floor. Labor and delivery, very similar. Sleeper sofas for the convenience of family members and the patient. So briefly, from a summary of the project, 12 newly designed operating rooms, 7 modern labor and delivery rooms, 1 dedicated C-section room, 18 new private intensive care rooms, 24 new private patient rooms, and then additional support space. It will be around, and these are approximate numbers, we're working on the final documents, about 160,000 square feet of new construction, 45,000 square feet of renovated space, about $60 million in construction, $10 million in new equipment, and about a 30-month construction time period. The tower itself will be about 18 months. Once that is complete, we can move into that tower, and then the rest of the space that we'll be renovating, it'll be about another 12 months on top of that. Just a very brief timeline. Riverside, myself, and some of my senior team will go before their Certificate of Need Board, the Health Facilities Planning Board, April 21st. 21st, 22nd is when the meeting is. Hopefully we will get approved. That's kind of the linchpin. We put our application in, I think, back in September. It's a long process. It's a rigorous state process. The document is about this thick that we've submitted to them with all sorts of details and down to the last penny, I think. So hopefully that will be approved in April. Based on that, we will send out the construction documents, and the bid process will take most of the summer, June, July, and into August. We're looking at a groundbreaking, hopefully right after Labor Day. And then again, 18 months later, the new tower will open, and then 12 months after that, the remaining renovation will be complete. During this time process, the expectation is probably about 250 plus, maybe as many as 300 construction workers will be on site for much of that time. So that will definitely help stimulate some of the local trades. After this new facility is up, probably an additional 75 to 100 support staff will be added as well. Everything from the nurses, obviously, to housekeepers to clean the new facility. We're adding a lot of square footage, dietary workers to cover that space. So lots of different jobs will be created with this new addition. Here is artist conception, artist rendering of what the new addition would look like. And again, a very nice facility and a very nice addition to the hospital and to the community. That's it for the formal presentation. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's going to be a little closer to the river, right?
Correct.
Are there any flooding concerns?
No, we've been working with Tyson Engineering to do all of the civil engineering. It is actually, we're fine with the 100-year floodplain. We've actually made a few accommodations and adjustments to the plan because of the 500-year floodplain. But we've been working very closely with Tyson, the Army Corps of Engineers, and we should be fine even for the 500-year floodplain.
Okay. Then the other thing, you mentioned the number of emergency room visits has really skyrocketed. What accounts for that?
I think several things. One is we're getting more transfers in, as I mentioned earlier, from across the region. As we continue to grow, our Riverside is being well known up into Will County, into Grundy County, into North Kankakee County. I think that's part of it. Part of it is because of the economy, our charity care is increasing. Our people without insurance are increasing, and they use the emergency room, and that's just a fact of life and what happens.
What percentage of charity care do you give overall? What percentage of your revenue or profits goes to charity care?
We submit a charity care report. I don't know that off the top of my head. I know from a community benefit standpoint and what we give to community benefit, the report we filed last year was $36 million in community benefit.
How much of that is actually translates into actual charity care, though?
I don't know off the top of my head. I got a presentation somewhere here that I'd be more than happy to sit with you and go over with it at some point. I don't know off the top of my head.
If you have send here to the county in my mailbox, that would be good.
Okay, I can send you the copy of the full report.
Sure,
That'd be fine.
great, thank you.
And your name is, ma'am, I'm sorry?
Ann Bernard.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Any other comments or questions? An exciting project. I appreciate the opportunity to come and present to this forum. Thank you very much, and I will keep you posted.
Yes, thank you, Phil. You can see why I wanted to share this with the full board and with the public. It's certainly an important project for our community, and we're certainly very happy that Riverside is investing in our community, and indicates their faith in our community. Moving on, I have no appointments, certificates of recognition. I see Mr. Greenstreet here today. I think I'll have him come up. Excuse me. 10 years with the county, Jim. Jim's been our utility infielder, I guess. He's spent some time in solid waste department and has been in transportation now for several years. And so, Mike, would you like to say a few words? Jim, congratulations.
Well, I think Mike mentioned it pretty well. Jim has been a jack of all trades and very valuable to the office. In the 10 years that he's been with us, he has held 3 different positions, and he's done what we've asked. Great employee, and like I said, you know, if there was a need in the office, Jim was ready, willing, and able to take the challenge, and we appreciate that. And we should be appreciative of employees like Jim at the county because they're very valuable. Thank you.
Other employees to recognize this morning, Dora Calderon with 5 years with probation, Jason Helen, 5 years with State's Attorney's Office, Fred Bondrich, 10 years with State's Attorney Office, Don Landwehr, 10 years with the Public Defender's Office, Ed Zoff, 10 years with Sheriff's Department, and Britton Warmoth, 15 years with probation. So we congratulate them all and thank them for their service. Minutes of our last meeting have been distributed. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Mr. McLaren with a motion. Mr. Marcotte with a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Claims Committee report.
March 24th, 2009, Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board. Your Committee on County Claims begged report they have examined the following claims presented and recommended payment. Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to issue orders to the several claimants payable out of the funds as follows. For the General Fund, $2,456,087.90. All other funds, $2,151,447.55 for a total of the month of March 2009, $4,907,534.64. The County Highway Fund is $33,398.12. All other funds, $303,514.79. For a total month of March 2009, $336,912.91, all of which is respectively submitted by Mr. Vickery, Mr. Collecting, Mr. Arsenault, Ms. Barber, Ms. Campbell, Mr. Legess, Ms. Polk, Ms. Schmidt, Mr. Scholl, Mr. Stockberg, Mr. Washington, Mr. Yates, and Mr. Bosser.
Is there a motion to approve the Claims Committee report? Mr. Vickery with a motion, Mr. Scholl with a second. Discussion, questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Legess?
Aye.
Mr. Stauffenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Witten?
Aye.
Mrs. Bernard? Mrs. Bernard? Mr. Marcotte?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. McLaren?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Aye.
Excuse me.
Mr. Olthoff?
Aye.
Mr. Lear?
Aye.
Mr. Scholl?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mrs. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Colecki?
Aye.
Mr. Yates?
Aye.
Mr. Innes?
Aye.
Mr. Tholen?
Aye.
Mrs. Pope?
Aye.
Mr. Bosser?
Aye. Motion carries. Department reports.
The County Collector's Monthly Report, we have examined the February 2009 monthly report of the County Treasurer and ex officio County Collector, which is the best of our knowledge found to be true and correct. The County Treasurer's Monthly Report, we have examined the February 2009 monthly report of the County Treasurer and ex officio County Collector, to the best of our knowledge found to be true and correct. The Coroner's Report for 2009 for February, there were 25 coroner cases, 67 medical, 11 autopsies, 11 toxicology, 2 outside, 15 natural deaths, 6 heart, 1 Alzheimer's, 1 COPD, 2 cancer, and 2 others. The coroner's report of income for the month is at $1,175, and that's the income summary report for 2008. Treasurer's report for February of 2009, fees collected of $314,831.11. Recorder of Deeds report for the month of February 2009 of fees of $93,966.40. County clerk's report for the month of February 2009 of fees of $26,217.90. The animal control report for the month of February 2009 of fees of $27,127.75. The building report for the month of March 2009, there were 73 permits for evaluation, $913,028. Fees collected of $7,254. And the regional school report is a copy of the attached receipts and disbursements of the county support funds in the office of the Iroquois Regional Superintendent of Schools. The quarterly report is attached.
Is there any, do I have a motion to approve the department reports? Mr. Olthoff with a motion, Mr. Stauffenberg with a second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Committee presentations and resolutions. On the consent agenda, we have a number of items. Are there any requests to remove anything from the consent agenda? Any questions? Last call, any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda? Mr. Washington with a motion, Mr. Vickery with a second. Mr. Clark, could you read the items on the consent agenda?
The consent agenda, the county-state agreement for federal aid participation, road update and maintenance agreement, resolution allocating funds for pilot bridge, resolution establishing a Class 2 or Class 3 designated truck route, construction of an 80,000-pound truck route, Kankakee County zoning map amendment, renewal of service contract between DevNet Incorporated and the County of Kankakee, the reappointment of Margaret Cliff as trustee to the Bloom Grove Cemetery Association, reappointment of Gerald Benji as trustee to the Blooms Grove Cemetery Association, reappointment of Dennis Voges as trustee to the Blooms Grove Cemetery Association, reappointment of Gene Wolf to the Kankakee County Emergency Telephone Service System Board, reappointment of John Brands as member of the Kankakee County Convention and Visitor Bureau, reappointment of George Searles as commissioner to the Kankakee County Public Facilities Board, reappointment of Donald Reardon to the Kankakee County Farmland Assessment Review Committee, reappointment of Alice Argilin to the Will Kankakee Regional Development Authority, reappointment of Dr. Hank Fields to the Kankakee County Board of Health, and the reappointment of Augusta Carter to the Kankakee County Housing Authority.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Legess?
Aye.
Mr. Stauffenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Wooden?
Aye.
Mrs. Bernard?
Aye.
Mr. Marcotte?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. McLaren?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Olthoff?
Aye.
Mr. Lear?
Aye.
Mr. Scholl?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mrs. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Colecki?
Aye.
Mr. Yates?
Aye.
Mr. Enns?
Aye.
Mr. Tholen?
Aye.
Mrs. Pope? And Mr. Bossert.
Aye. Motion carries. Under planning, zoning, and agriculture, we have one item. An ordinance relative to the expansion of the Kankakee River Valley Enterprise Zone. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution? Mr. Washington with a motion, Mr. Hess with a second. Mr. Van Mille, I'll let you explain briefly.
Sure. This is in the city of Kankakee. It is the former Esseltate facility in the central part, or I guess I would call it the southeastern portion of the city. It's a 15-acre expansion that includes the Esseltate factory, as well as K4 Ventures and Fiber Drum Company, which is all located within the same block right there. When Essel Tate decided to leave, many of you are aware of that, you will recall, we started to evaluate the building and try to determine their reuse. And one of the things that we discovered is that the property is not in the enterprise zone, and that wasn't surprising, I guess, after we started looking at it, because it's been there so long and established that the enterprise zone just didn't get out to that site. If you take a look at the map, you'll see that the existing enterprise zone is in purple. What we have done is, which is appropriate through the state of Illinois, is we've taken a 3-foot strip on Duane Boulevard, extended it east, and taken in the 15 acres. Hopefully many of you can see it. That includes the property that's in question. It is for sale right now. I don't believe it. Somebody had indicated maybe somebody is in there. I think Leo did yesterday, but I'm not aware of any activity. But the property is open, and we're aggressively looking for a tenant for the property itself. So, any questions?
Board members, Mr. Yates?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm curious, and this is a new one. I wasn't around when the River Valley Enterprise Zone was actually, this particular zone was put together. And I'm looking at the description here, and it talks about north line of Park Street and extending to the east line of Rosewood Avenue,
Sure.
and then southerly, if you will, to Duane.
There's a little jog that it has to take to get to Duane from Park Street, right at Rosewood. It's for the 3-foot strip connection. We relied on Tyson Engineering to put the description together. But basically, what we're looking at is we took the closest spot, and it basically does take Duane all the way across. But we had to get to Duane through there's a little jog in the road right at Park and Rosewood. Yeah.
And certainly I want to take a look at the map, because I'm thinking
Sure.
Park and Rosewood over by Route 50.
Park Place. There's a short Park Place is in the city. Thank goodness I grew up in like Park Place. Yes. Otherwise, I would never have known.
Okay, I'm looking at Park Street and Rosewood Avenue.
Well, we know it is Park Place now, and Park Place and Rosewood, where they connect.
Okay, Mr. Yates?
Thank you, yes.
Bernard?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Do we need that to change the legal description of Park Place to Park Street?
I don't believe so. I mean, I think that, I mean, we can make that motion, but I relied on. No. I would rely on the certificate of the licensed engineer, and that's. I think we'd leave it at that.
All right, that's fine, thanks.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Ken, thank you, Chairman. Morning, Mike.
Hi.
This is, we are helping this out with government money. Is that they're gonna be prevailing wages for these people in this place?
Well, we don't know who's going to go in there at the present time, so I can't answer that I can't answer that question. I think what we're trying to do is make this attractive for somebody to purchase and to put somebody into the facility so that it's a functioning facility that's the betterment of the community. I can't answer that. I think one of the things that you're trying to refer to is some state legislation that's going on with prevailing wages and jobs that are occurring. Hopefully that's the case.
If I may, the railroad that is supposed to be connected to there is no, I drove around that 3 times yesterday. There is no railroad connection back there
No.
whatsoever.
No, I don't think I think it'd be very difficult to get a spur there.
Thank you.
Other questions, Mr. Enns?
Mike, you didn't mention, you hear me?
You're on.
You didn't mention, does that include the Scottwood metal building, which is, I think, is now Engler?
anything that's in that.
Right in that little.
Yeah, Larry, if it's in that little block there, it will include it, because we did include fiber drum and we included K4. Maybe it's K4 now, I don't know, but anything that's in that vicinity adjacent or touching the SL tape, we included those that little industrial enclave, so.
Anybody else? Questions? Mr. Yates again?
I'm sorry, forgive my ignorance, but I'm trying to grasp this. We're talking about Greenwood Avenue or Greenview?
Would you want to take a look at the map? Here's the map of the inside is right here. And right now, it probably, I don't think, it would have to be Greenwood and Park Place. You know, where Greenwood and Park Place, that intersection, just north of Cobb Boulevard, Park, is where the connection starts. Then it takes and then it goes east on Park Place. That's actually about 2 lots from where my parents live, and takes a jog south about 300 feet. And I'm just going by memory here. And it picks up Duane Boulevard and goes directly east to pick up the acetate plant. That's the legal description that we have.
This description is throwing me off because Greenwood Avenue is much further north and east than that, or certainly north of that. If I Greenwood or Greenview is my
Greenwood.
South Greenwood.
Greenwood Avenue.
Greenwood. I grew up on Greenwood and Station.
It's by the
So
country club is where this is.
Okay, South Greenwood.
Yeah, it's down by this is down by where the country club is, this Duane Boulevard and that area, Beckman Park.
Okay, this description, I got it. This description is kind of lacking a little bit, actually. I think it's, well, don't take offense to that, Mr. State's Attorney.
I didn't draft it, but I read it and reviewed it, and no, it's actually spot on with what they needed.
That's how they're connected to the goal.
We have a question. Bernard?
So Mike, is this basically like a strip annexation to
Yes.
include that property in the enterprise zone? Does it also include the apartments?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no.
No,
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under finance, you have been handed, in addition today, a resolution relating to the hiring of a consultant, Bruce Shearer, to assist the county with its health insurance analysis and plan design. This is a result of a subcommittee formed at the Finance Committee level. I asked that subcommittee, consisting of Mr. Stauffenberg, Mr. Arsenault, Mr. Legesse, Mr. Vickery, as well as myself sitting in, to evaluate how we might do a better job of looking at our health insurance plan and our needs and how we deal with the year-to-year changes in the health insurance industry. And the committee came back with a recommendation to engage a consultant to assist us in that process. And in the interest of time, we brought it directly to the board rather than go back through Finance Committee. Mr. Vickery, would you like to comment, or Mr. Stauffenberg, either one? I let these gentlemen take the lead on that committee discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, in the past, during the budget process, we've been handed huge increases in health insurance. And the committee's had to act probably without the services of someone who knows that business as much as Mr. Shearer. So, we formed Mr. Bossert formed a subcommittee, and we met several times. We met with Mr. Shearer, and the committee's convinced that we need some expertise in this field to offset these huge increases each year. We're faced with several problems there in the health insurance, and I think last year we came in at about 500,000 increase, and finally we're able to make a few adjustments and get that down to about 300,000. So we're faced with some problems, and we're trying to get the lead time to possibly change our inception date and actually take some of the load off of our staff. So the committee pretty convinced. In fact, they were unanimous in their suggestion, and we'd like to move forward with a contract with Mr. Shearer, the details of which we'll work on in finance and executive and bring forth to you. But we need to get moving on this, and we need to change our inception date of the contract, and we need to get some really good bids as we move forward into the budget process. Thank you.
Just the bidding process, I might add, I guess, that we're looking at design of the plan and all the innovative ways we might be able to control some of our costs by utilizing some higher deductibles in conjunction maybe with health savings accounts, things like that. But we need to investigate. Any questions? Mr. Collect?
I've just got a quick question. You're talking about going out to bid for premium opportunities and things like that.
No, it hasn't been read into record yet.
Explanation, which is
I'm
fine.
being advised we should have a motion on the floor. We have a motion to adopt this resolution.
Read it into
Mr.
record.
Legess and Mr. Scholl with a second. And we should read the resolution into the minutes.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, the hiring of Bruce Shear for professional services as a consultant broker for Kankakee County's insurance needs. Whereas the Finance Committee meeting of January 27, 2009, the Kankakee County Board Chairman named Mr. Stauffenberg, Mr. Arsenault, Mr. Legess, Mr. Bosser, Mr. Vickery as Chairman of the newly formed Insurance Subcommittee. And whereas the Insurance Subcommittee was charged with reviewing the health insurance for both a renewal period and multi-year bids for premium opportunities other than HMO and PPO coverage, as well as liability and property insurance. And whereas the subcommittee reported back and it was recommended that Bruce Shear be hired to provide professional services as a consultant and broker for bidding and insurance issues. And whereas after consideration and review, it is recommended that Bruce Shear be hired as a consultant broker for Kankakee County upon a fully executed contract. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Board, Kankakee County Board Chairman be authorized to execute a contract hiring Bruce Shear as a consultant broker for Kankakee County.
Thank you. Now, discussion. Mr. Colecki?
Sorry about that. My question is, we're talking about the bidding process. I see multi-year bids for premium opportunities. What companies are we gonna accept bids from? I mean, because I believe Mr. Shear is a broker for an insurance agency. And are these bids just gonna be through the agency that he represents, or are they gonna be from other agencies as well?
Some of these details we have yet to be ironed out. We did have that discussion. Mr. Stauffenberg, could you help me with some of this explanation?
Yeah, it'll be all companies. You know, any company that wants to submit a bid can submit a bid. So not just what companies he represents, although he represents all of them that are active in this area anyway. So we're looking to leave no rocks unturned.
Mrs. Bernard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What agency is Mr. Shear with?
Homestar.
Homestar? And what kind of commission or percentages are we looking at?
Well, that's some of the discussion involved and is yet to be worked out. What we are told is that we could hire a consultant and have a fee-based service, and then the insurance would come with no commission. Am I correct, Jim? And that would be a full disclosure method to disclose exactly how compensation is paid. The other alternative is to go ahead and let commission be paid and thereby absorb our commission costs or our consulting costs in the insurance contract. So we have, again, we have yet to work out those details, exactly what services we want. So we wanted authority to move ahead and work out some details.
And could we make sure that when we're looking at these commissions that we're doing a comparative analysis to see what other brokerage firms are charging, so that we're not front-loading this or whatever? I'd like to make sure that it's, we have some good comparisons there. And I think the other thing is, because the cost of health insurance is becoming a perennial problem, you heard Mr. Campick this morning how ER admissions are up because more and more people are losing their jobs and are getting uninsured. And I'd like to ask this board to consider looking at HR 676, take the time to look at it on the internet. It's Medicare for all and single payer. Because until we get to a comprehensive single payer system, we're going to be behind the 8 ball, and this crisis is going to reappear again and again and again.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We shouldn't go out for an RFP on a consultant or get different bids on that consulting fee?
Subcommittee's pleasure was to go with the recommendation in the community and see what we can develop with Mr. Shear. He seems to be the well-respected authority in town in terms of health insurance consulting. The necessity of going for an RFP, I'll leave to our state's attorney to comment on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the board. Under Illinois law, an RFP is not required in a situation like this, nor is a bidding process required. And the general thought in Illinois law is that the nature of the relationship between the governmental body and those who provide professional services, be it attorneys, insurance brokers, civil engineers, and in certain cases medical doctors like the ones we have out at the jail, the nature of that relationship is such that the ability to have appropriate personal interaction and trust is one that cannot be included in an RFP, and the ability to get things done outside what we generally consider the regular bid process is paramount to the services that are provided, particularly with certain professionals where there is a need for confidentiality and many of the things that they do. So for that reason, the state legislature, in what some would say is a rarity, did something right and allowed us to hire professionals that we think we can work with, as opposed to being stuck with the lowest bid on what may be a very important situation. And insurance brokerage and insurance representation and consultation falls into that category. And I think that's why the committee is doing what they're doing. I don't want to speak for them, but the law allows it, and in fact, the law actually encourages it. I would hate to think that the next time my office needed outside counsel for something like a landfill, I'd have to go to the lowest bidder, or even have a bid process.
Mr. James?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will this contract have a time frame in which, in other words, not putting something in place that's going to go on definitely? How long is this contract going to be for before it comes up for review?
It's to be determined. Jim or Jim?
I think it's going to be a yearly contract.
I think it's a year-to-year.
Yearly contract. What we were talking about.
Anybody else? Mr. McLaren, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Comment, if I may, first, and then I think my question was just answered, but I'll double check. I guess my comment would be just a little history. Back in 2000, when I was chairman of the then Personnel Automation and Insurance Committee, we did have a broker at that time. There were some serious issues that were brought to my attention that I had passed on to the then chairman and vice chairman, and Mr. Stauffenberg as well, because of his expertise in that field. The results from those concerned issues, we had let go of that broker, and we have not had a broker since. And I guess that brings up my question, and I believe Jim just answered it. I'm hoping this committee, which I'm very happy to see, the subcommittee that is reviewing this insurance, I think was a wonderful idea, stays in place to keep an eye on this, to keep an eye on the broker and the process that this goes through. And to me, it sounds like that was answered by if this is gonna be for review on a yearly basis, I think that's a very good idea, and and to keep it close to, and like I said, I would ask, is this committee planning on staying together, this subcommittee, or is it just for a short period of time?
That's my thought, is we would perhaps make this a permanent subcommittee to review not only health insurance, but probably our other insurance carriers.
And I certainly agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I think they should stay in place, not just for this issue itself, but for all the issues concerning all our insurances.
Thank you. Mrs. Bernard first.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just a question, and I can see why we're doing this, but shouldn't we have the particulars first, and then maybe vote on this next month?
Well, again, in the interest of time, we wanted to bring this and get your approval to move ahead. I guess my thought is we will work out the details, bring it back to our finance committee later in the month, and be in a position then next month to have our details in place. But in the meantime, we could move ahead with some stronger planning with Mr. Shearer.
So we'll come back to the full board again next month?
Is that advisable, Mr. Boyd? I guess I'm some help on that.
I guess that's up to the board. What this resolution does is it authorizes the board chairman to enter into a contract with Mr. Shearer, which is the goal here, to get a contract for somebody to beat us in our pursuit of some sort of consistency, thank you, in insurance and the cost of insurance. If when that contract is executed, this board has concerns with the contract, I suppose we can relook at it. My concern would be that the committee has made their determination. The finance committee apparently is comfortable with the people that are on the subcommittee. It's your pleasure however you want to handle it, but the longer you delay it, the more you put at risk your employees when it comes to the cost of insurance.
Well, I guess if I may, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I guess my concern is that we might be purchasing an unknown commodity here. And maybe if the wording was a little different, instead of hiring, maybe if it said entering into negotiations or something. But my concern is that right now we may be purchasing an unknown commodity here right now.
Mr. Stauffenberg.
Yeah, the subcommittee's concern was that we need some help and direction in where to go for our upcoming renewal, and the sooner you start, the better. And for Mr. Shear to even look at anything we're doing, he has to be appointed as our broker or our consultant. So if he wanted to call personal care tomorrow and say, I'd like to, what's Kankakee County's loss ratio looking like right now, what kind of a renewal are you going to be presenting, they would tell him nothing. With this resolution, would give him the opportunity and the availability to be notified, personal care would be notified that he is now our consultant and broker, and he is entitled to all that information and could start working on it. And we thought another month's delay is just another month that we get behind the 8 ball, just like we did last year, and we're all of a sudden sitting here with a $500,000 increase, and our budget's already set. So our choice was to go ahead with the resolution, try to get him on board, let him start investigating. I can assure you the subcommittee is very comfortable with the amounts that Mr. Shear has been talking to us about, and so is finance, so I would see no problem going forward at this point.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make a clarification that my comments weren't about the lowest bid, but if we're hiring somebody for a job, basically, that we look over other applicants for this particular situation.
Anybody else? Mr. Enns?
The only thing I feel uncomfortable about here is we're okaying somebody to be hired for some unknown amount of money. That makes me uncomfortable. Is there any way we can put an amendment here to bring this back? Maybe okay, a pre-hirement agreement or something, and then see how much money it's costing us. We're gonna give this guy, $1 million, or $100,000, $10.
If I may. The only response I guess I can get to that is when you hire professionals, you generally hire at a rate. Keep in mind that when this board or the board that sits in its place hired Hinshaw Culbertson, you didn't have any idea how much money it was going to cost you. We're into 7 figures with them. Of course, it's been 7 years. That's the nature of hiring professionals. That's why it's done in a different fashion from bidding a project. I guess my suggestion to you and anybody who has concerns here is you need to trust your fellow board members who have been doing their due diligence in reviewing this process and interviewing the people they need to talk to, that they believe this is a good idea. And no, I don't think putting a cap on it is a good idea.
Right, but from listening to what Mr. Stauffenberg said, evidently the committee has some idea of what this is going to cost us, and I don't see the fully vote why we wouldn't all hear this.
Part of the problem is we're still working out exactly what Mr. Scheer would be doing. There's a laundry list of things that he could provide us, ranging from just going out for bid to doing some more advocacy work with the insurance company that we end up with. So until we finalize exactly what we want, it's hard to say. Again, I would ask that you trust the committee and the finance committee that's bringing this forward. Once we get the recommendation, we'll be coming back anyway. No problem with reviewing this once we're done.
Okay, so I definitely would like to have that brought back, to be reviewed, you know, where we could reject it if we thought it was not appropriate.
Again, we've got a time commitment here. We want to get our review process underway so that we can possibly change our insurance cycle with our employees, better fit our budget cycle. That's part of what prompted a lot of this discussion. Mr. Washington.
Let's get this, try and get it a little clearer. The scope of the job that we're going to ask him to do is not quite clear yet. And that scope will determine the dollar figures high and low as to where we will go. And that's the reason why we're not able to quote a figure or put a top or a bottom to it at this point in time. Is that clear?
That's correct. You ready for a vote?
Roll call, please.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Legess?
Aye.
Mr. Stauffenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Whitten?
Aye.
Mrs. Bernard?
Nay.
Mr. Marcotte?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. McLaren?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Nay.
Mr. Olthoff?
Aye.
Mr. Lear?
Aye.
Mr. Scholl?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mrs. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Pilecki?
Nay.
Mr. Yates?
Nay.
Mr. Inns?
Nay.
Mr. Tholen?
Aye.
Mrs. Polk?
No.
Mr. Foster?
Aye. Motion carries 15-6. Thank you. And we will be informing the rest of the board and the finance committees and various committees as to the results. I have no unfinished business. Moving on to new business. I have a resolution for your consideration in support of the, I'm sorry, for old business?
All business.
We have unfinished business? Mr. Witt, yes.
I think it's under old business. The last board meeting, under new business, a resolution was read authorizing the Kankakee County to purchase real estate from Zena S. Ward, located at 139 and 147 East Court Street, Kankakee, Illinois. Mr. Hess made the motion to accept the resolution with a second from Mr. Pilecki. A roll call was taken with motion passing 20-2. Motion carried. My question is, I hope you consider the empty lots we have on Harrison Avenue for parking before we tear another building down for a parking lot.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Scholl?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been brought up a number of times, so quite frankly, I don't know if it's old or new business, but I'd like to see on the agenda for next month, and we've all been guilty of it, cell phones have gone off during the course of the meeting. My proposal for consideration the next time around, put it on the agenda, as I say, is that fine be established where whenever your cell phone goes off. And I'm guilty, I have to tell you. But any revenue generated from that type of activity, or let's put text messaging in there also. Any revenue generated from that activity would go to a scholarship fund at KCSI.
Thank you, I think.
Everybody's assured that they've had a laugh for the day.
We'll refer that to the executive committee. Under new business, I have a resolution in support of the federal appropriation grant application for improvements to the Greater Kankakee Airport. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution? Mr. Washington with a motion, Mr. Pilecki with a second. This was a resolution brought forth as a suggestion of our state legislators that if we are in fact serious about moving ahead with a airport improvement grant, that some show of support by our county board would be appropriate, as well as the other municipalities in our community. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Pending reappointments to be considered, we have, I think, every fire district in the county. Not quite, that's true. So you'll see those for the record. Mantino, St. Anne, Pilot, Limestone, Moments, Grant, Otto, Kankakee Township, Essex, Bourbonnais, Cambry, and Reading. Anything else for the good of the cause? Mr. Yates.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to, if I can pass to the state's attorney, and just for the record, in reference to this enterprise zone we were just discussing, I've got a map of the city of Kankakee which shows a Park Avenue, a Park Place, but no Park Street. If we identify such seemingly insignificant errors, doesn't it make much sense that there is no Park Street in the city of Kankakee? So the description says something that's not there. An administrative point, just an administrative correction is required. Can we do that?
Thank you. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn, please. Mr. Olthoff.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Mr.
All in favor, say aye.
He didn't recommend